Okay, the moderator for this next session is Dr. Celia Merzbacher. Celia is Executive Director of the Quantum Economic Development Consortium, QED-C as we know it, and they aim to grow the quantum industry and its supply chain. Celia has 2 decades of experience in leading technology initiatives and partnerships. Previously, she was Vice President for Innovation Partnerships at the Semiconductor Research Corporation. And in 2003 to 2008, she was Assistant Director for Technology R&D in the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy and served as Executive Director of the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. Celia began her career as material scientist at the U.S. Naval Research Lab in Washington, D.C., where her research led to 6 patents and more than 50 technical publications. And she's a fellow of the AAAS and has served as chair of the National Materials and Manufacturing Board of the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. And she's on the board of directors, she has served on the board of directors of ANSI, as well as on advisory boards of several university research centers. So with that, please welcome Dr. Celia Merzbacher to lead this panel discussion.
Well, thank you very much, Stu. It's great to be back at the Quantum World Congress and to have the chance to network and see some old friends and make some new acquaintances in the community. I do sometimes feel like we're sort of a clan that moves around, and I think that's really valuable. We're building and growing year by year. So welcome. I am serving in sort of 2 roles here on the panel today, and we have 2 participants who will be attending or participating virtually. I am representing the Quad Investors Network. Carl Mehta is the lead of the Quad Investors Network. It's one of the few organizations where the Q in Quinn doesn't stand for quantum. And I want to thank Carl for being a driving force behind the activity that we're going to talk about on this panel. The Quad Investors Network has 3 goals: increase collaboration, increase the flow of capital, and increase markets and trade. And I think we're all for those goals. And to do that across the Quad nations. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this acronym Quad, the Quad countries are Australia, Japan, India, and the US. And it was set up by the governments originally, but the Quad Investors Network is a non-governmental group that is really bringing together the whole ecosystem to advance these goals: collaboration, investment, growing markets. And under the Quinn, the Quantum Center of Excellence was established a little more than a year ago with co-chairs from the 4 countries. And the co-chairs are the panelists today that you're going to hear from. So over the last year, 4 task forces were formed to focus on increasing cross-Quad activities in quantum computing, quantum communication, quantum sensing, and in the sort of cross-cutting ecosystem that's going to be needed to achieve the goals. In July, the Quad, or the Quinn Quantum Center of Excellence, released a report. I will hold up a copy. You can get it online at the Quinn website. It is a report on the landscape and opportunities for quantum science and technology in the Quad nations. So this is really our first public report sharing what we feel are the opportunities and challenges, and we'll be hearing about those today. So I'd like to turn it over right away to the panelists that we're going to hear from, and we'll go in alphabetical order by country. So Cathy Foley is joining us from Australia. Hi, Cathy, we can see you. And each of the panelists will say a few words about what the state of the quantum ecosystem is in their country. So Cathy, welcome. Introduce yourself to the audience and make your opening statement, please.
Right, so hi Celia, and hi everyone there. It's quite late here, it's about 12:30, just after midnight. So it's great to be at least able to join you a little bit this year. I was very disappointed that I just couldn't get the stars to align to be there in person. Australia, starting with A, means we're always first, which means that it gives me a chance to give you a bit of an idea of where we're up to with our quantum technology ambitions for the country. Australia's got a strength in quantum technologies. You've probably seen quite a few Australians there at the Congress. And that's a consequence of decades of patient investment in fundamental work and research that's allowed us to really build a critical mass, which is absolutely important if you're going to see the realisation of having a quantum industry in Australia. One of the things I think that is really interesting to note is that we've been working hard to bring cohorts together. And so over the years, we've set up a number of Australian Research Council Centres of Excellence, and that's proven to build cross-collaboration across universities and some of the government public funded agencies to be able to have a focus of long-term funding, which brings students, early career researchers and top academics together on different aspects of quantum. You will know that last year in May, Australia released its National Quantum Strategy, and it's one which has that long-term vision, which is trying to make sure that we turn this great opportunity into something that is going to penetrate across all parts of not just Australia, but be part of and a significant part of the global network. We have 5 parts of that, and one of them is relating to the ethics and also the social license that's related to making sure that we bring the community along with us as we develop quantum technologies. In it, we also recognise that this is going to require lots of people, about over 19,000 people by about 2045. And as we'll hear about a bit more, the skills, the training, the people is going to be a really important part of this. We also think by then it'll be a $6 billion industry in Australia alone. Currently, there's about 38 quantum businesses operating in Australia, and 14 Australian businesses with headquarters in Australia primarily focused on supporting and developing and commercialising quantum technologies. We also have 11 Australian businesses with headquarters in Australia involved in quantum technologies industry, but not in their core business, and another 13 foreign headquartered businesses operating. So I think the workforce size is somewhere, it's a bit hard to know exactly, but between 500 and 1,000 people. And 26 Australian research organisations are focused on quantum technologies. So 6 centres of excellence, 16 universities and 4 government research agencies. And I think the thing that's really interesting is that for us, it's really important that our quality of research is up there. But I think the final thing I just want to note is we've been also looking at building the demand. This has been really important in building up the, energy and enthusiasm, not just in the people doing quantum, but also the different businesses. So we've been running a series of quantum meets. We've gone through a quantum meet. We've had 7 so far: quantum meet sport, resources, space, finance, health, public service, and one other which I can't remember what it is. But they've been fantastic, bringing the industry sector together with researchers, businesses, and looking at where quantum can really make a big difference for that particular industry sector. And it's been extraordinary to see how people coming in saying, I know nothing about quantum, why are you inviting me to this? And then going away being so excited because they can see where quantum can make a big difference for them, and getting those collaborations and partnerships up and going. So that's where we're up to at the moment. It's pretty exciting, and just like with everyone, we are seeing things really coming together and getting a lot of, momentum. So back to you, Celia.
Thank you, Cathy. Next, we'll be hearing from India, and Professor Ajay Sood is with us. Professor Sood, please introduce yourself and give us a snapshot of the quantum ecosystem in India.
Thank you very much, Celia. My greetings to all of you co-panelists. So the National Quantum Mission in India was formally launched in April 2023. And before the mission was launched, we had the other programs of funding from Department of Science and Technology, which had built up some ecosystem. So as of now, we have about 700 researchers pursuing at different levels quantum science. And now we have 14 startups in quantum domain. So this mission has four verticals, namely quantum computing, quantum communication, quantum sensors, and quantum devices, which are needed for the other three verticals. So we have made beginning in this mission. There are four hubs which are being set up. These are multi-institutional programs in all these four verticals. So I'll just give you a brief on where we are in different domains. In quantum computing, India's strength is largely software centric and theoretical and algorithmic. And in that sense, if you look at the indicator, India outstrips many countries in terms of number of Qiskit users. That tells the level of interest we have. And in quantum computing hardware, it is at an initial stage. We have a 7-bit quantum computer working, and now the work is already on increasing these qubits. And in the next few months, we should see much more progress once the mission is also in place. So in quantum communication, we have relatively much more way ahead. We have a program from the Space Department, which are working on this satellite-based quantum communication. And on the land-based, few demonstrations have been done over a 150 kilometer or and recently 380 kilometers on a standard telecom fiber. And this is something now getting enhanced. And the idea is to have a star network with about 5 centers, and this is in progress. A startup called QNew Labs have generated a pair of symmetric keys using their 150 kilometer single hop Parmos QKD system and trusted relay node technologies covering a distance of about 325 kilometers. So in quantum, other programs are also there, which are quantum network testbed connecting labs in Chennai, in south of India. And Telecom Engineering Center also has developed a comprehensive generic requirement document for QKD. PQC is again of great interest to many scientists and engineers, and there are few labs and groups which are working on theoretical work, and also some in the TEC, this telecom department, they have developed comprehensive, again, generic requirement PQC and classical cryptography system. Quantum sensing, again, work at the lab level has already happened on quantum sensing using NV centers in diamond, as well as in magnetometry using the cold atoms, in the gravimeter using the cold atoms. And now the effort is to make a transportable setup for both of these sensors. And India participating in the LIGO projects with many important spin-offs in this area. So these things give you a sense of where we are going, and we look forward to interactions in the Quad platform where we hope we can contribute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sood. Next, we'll hear from Professor Aihara from Japan. Welcome in person, please.
Yep, thank you. I'm Hiroaki Aihara, the EVP of the University of Tokyo and the professor of the physics. So let me begin by pointing out that the quantum development in Japan primarily comes from the public sector. We have the second largest share of quantum patents by country between 2000 and 2022. Government of Japan has set a moonshot goal of realizing a fault-tolerant universal quantum computer by 2050, and it is investing in multiple platforms, including optical ion trap, superconducting, and silicon-based quantum computers. It is because Japan has the underlying manufacturing and hardware capabilities to explore all of these directions. Furthermore, the Japanese government formulated a strategy to promote society's positive evolution by embedding quantum technology throughout social and economic systems, driving advancements in quantum computing, communication, and sensing. Ministry of Education MEX has set up the Human Resources Development Programs, which addresses the critical need for skilled quantum professionals. This program is to create a robust talent pipeline by integrating quantum education into higher education and specialized training. In private sector, Quantum Strategic Industry Alliance for Revolution, QSTAR for short, was established in 2021 to create new industries and business opportunities based on quantum technology. Its members come from various business sectors, including startups, small and medium-sized enterprises, large collaborations, and academic institutions. QSTAR now consists of about 90 industry members. Most recently, the government has established a Global Research and Development Center for Business by Quantum AI Technology, GQuad for short, as a dedicated research center in one of national institutions, AIST. Its primary objective is to create new markets and address societal challenges through the extensive adoption of quantum technology. GQuad also plans to establish an evaluation method and the standardization to build resilience in supply chain of high-performance materials and components. In addition, GQuad strongly continues R&D of large-scale integration of quantum bits. And finally, let me mention the activity at my own institution, the University of Tokyo. The U Tokyo functions as a research hub to develop use cases for quantum computation with academic and industrial partners, which form a consortium. Furthermore, we are expanding our network to work with US industries such as Google and IBM, and the US universities like the University of Chicago. These parties agreed on MOU to build an ecosystem of quantum computing technologies in Japan to promote strategic importance around the activities related to quantum computing algorithms and applications, and to promote and to expand the economic opportunities in Japan. So in conclusion, Japan is building a quantum ecosystem primarily and strongly led by a public sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So last but not least, I hope, I will give a picture of the US quantum ecosystem. I think many of you may be familiar with it, but I just wanted to outline some of the strengths, but also there's room for improvement. So I want to remind everyone, I am executive director of QED-C. That's not a governmental organization, although we get some support from the government. So I'm speaking from the industry perspective here. The US National Quantum Initiative was formally launched in 2018, and with strong bipartisan support. That's great. We're looking forward to the continued support of the government. You can learn about the NQI at quantum.gov, many reports there with their strategy and so on. The US quantum ecosystem leverages many existing non-quantum specific components. And I think these are really important, harkening back to these goals of collaboration, investment, growing markets, and trade. So we have a strong and diverse set of universities with top-notch research and education. We have multi-agency distributed merit-based research funding programs. So there are diverse sources of support, not just one place to go for support for quantum ideas. And I think that's a strength in many ways. We have obviously a very robust startup culture here and a very healthy venture capital community. So there's access to capital, but you need to convince the private sector to make those investments. And there's a respect for the rule of law, for having a level playing field and allowing competition to, select the winners. So IP protection, fair trade, consensus-based standardization, for instance. Now, QED-C I see as a strength as well. So this is an unusual public-private partnership, a consortium of stakeholders that was formed. It's now international. If you're not already involved, go to our booth in the exhibit area and learn more. On the room for improvement side, I would say that we could do a better job on our implementation of immigration policies, take advantage of the ability to attract and retain the best and the brightest. There's a fierce competition even among friends for the talent. And while we want to increase the ability for people to go where they are needed most or have the best opportunities, every country wants to make that as easy as possible, and we could do better here. Communication. I think it's incumbent on all of us to be communicators about quantum. It's a tricky topic. People kind of, who don't understand it are intimidated. And I know my organization is trying to do a better job of communicating to all audiences about the potential for the field and how quickly it's progressing. And finally, and this is very relevant to the QUIN, greater international collaboration. That balances national security needs of the countries and the economic and societal benefits. So with that sort of in mind, we'll go back and then have a round of questions for the panelists, and we may only have time with less than 10 minutes remaining to touch on one of the questions that we prepared for, and that is, what does this report say? Give you the sort of what we call cliff notes here in the US. So which task force did you and your country lead? And could you share with us one of the calls to action? We were sort of unwilling to use the word recommendation. Remember, this is not a government organization that's driving any decisions taken by governments, but we're advising and making suggestions. So again, Cathy, we'll start with you. Can you give us a quick report on your task force, please?
Yes, so look, I was responsible for the ecosystem, which was great to do. There were 12 different topics, which I won't go through, of what makes up an ecosystem. But the number one, which we focused on in the report, is the need to be able to have the workforce, the skilled workforce, because that's going to grow quickly. At the moment, you're seeing a slow ascendancy, but it will suddenly take off. And the tricky bit is that the challenge we have to deal with is developing a workforce while the industry is still emerging. So we've sort of described it as building the plane while it's on the tarmac or on the runway. And I think the thing is getting young people to realize that this is a pathway for them, not just with people with academic qualifications at the highest level, like PhDs in physics, but also looking at the electricians and the people who make devices and the plumbers and the cryogenics and so on. So establishing clear career pathways when it's not really clear what that pathway endpoint looks like is important. Ensuring that non-quantum workers are aware of the opportunities in quantum, and exposing young students to quantum to motivate them to pursue careers in quantum, noting that they don't have to get to third year and a Bachelor of Science degree before they get exposed to it, that we need to see how we can get this into the everyday classroom so they can see this as something exciting, but also has opportunity for a wide range of skills. So back to you, Celia.
Thank you. Professor Sood.
Hello, yeah. So India led the Quantum Communication Task Force, and Professor Anil Prabhakar, expert from IIT Madras, was the task force lead. So this task force has highlighted some important points. I'll just mention 3 or 4 of them. The first one is relatively simpler. It calls for industry support for comprehensive training and qualification program in quantum communication. This will address the issue of meeting the human resource that is needed for which should be industry ready. Second one is greater and freer access to investment, critical technologies and market opportunities. This in turn will call for a more encouraging regime of guidelines, standards, and regulations. It will help establish standardized protocols for interoperability and so on. Greater synergy between public and private efforts will greatly help in scaling and commercializing communication technology. The third recommendation is co-creation of standards and communication protocols, which will be helpful in technology proliferation. Making the supply chain for crucial components like superconducting nanowire, single photon detectors, etc. All these things will go a long way in having this quantum communication spread out sooner than later. So this is something, and needless to say, more investment in quantum communication. That is true for all areas, but the task force has put that in the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sood. Aihara-san.
Okay, only a few words. I led the quantum computing task force, and the most challenging call to action, as you probably anticipated, is to come up with the testbed facilities operated collectively by the coordinations. I believe government's proactive involvement can trigger coordinations, collaboration, and promote private and academic sector's strong participation. So back to you.
Thank you. And the US led the quantum sensing task force, and quantum sensors offer some of the nearest term applications, as I think most of you know, including for geophysics, GPS-free navigation, biomedical applications, brain imaging and so on, environmental monitoring and so on. The Quad Investors Network, in partnership with government offices with an interest in growing the quantum economy, should host quantum sensing showcases. This was sort of our recommendation or our call to action. Hold some showcases on quantum sensing in the Quad countries to remove barriers among technology developers, people with ideas for quantum sensors, end users who are going to actually implement them, and investors. So I encourage you all to go and read the full report. With that, we're really just down to a couple of minutes. So maybe just one sentence from each of the panelists. What would you like to see government do? I'm going to take the spend more money off that. Check that box off the top. Is there something else you want to bring to the attention of the audience, especially the governments today? Cathy.
Okay, look, I think the indication that governments are all in and the recognition that you can't turn away from this. Quantum is going to be there on all levels, from communication, sensing, and computing. And it's not something which you can just, I guess, dabble in. You've got to be all in. And I guess that's what I want our government to do, which we're seeing, is saying we're committed, we're in there for the long term, and we see this as really important.
So keep the foot on the gas. Thank you.
Yeah.
Professor Sood.
Two things quickly. One should think of a quad quantum centers of excellence. Could be virtual, could be anything, but this can be one platform which we can think of. And second, the important one is to look at standards and regulations, because this is in the government domain, and this is what will be needed for free flow of capital and technologies among the quad nations. So these two things could be a very powerful instruments to push this quantum agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope the government has realized the key to the free and open Indo-Pacific is the quantum technology.
And I will underscore some of what I think others have said. I think coordinating on policies to protect critical technologies. We saw here in the US the announcement of export controls. I think it would be, and they said in the announcement about it, these are being done in coordination with like-minded countries. So I call upon all governments to work together to partner on protecting the technology so that it can be advanced in a sort of healthy and productive way, and we can achieve the benefits. And I'd like to also see the Quinn bring the investors together with the researchers. So if you're an investor out there, please come and see us and we'll get you involved with our next steps. So thank you to the panelists and thank you all for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.